Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the NCSL here on NCAA 14, and also featuring that college football revamp as well. We have a lot of great games happening in this episode. We got the Red River rivalry as one of them. We're going to check on teams like Virginia Tech, who did enter the top 25 recently. We're going to see if they're actually worthy of being a top 25 team or not. We got other teams around the country playing multiple top 25 matchups, multiple user games as well that feature some of your guys' custom coaches that are in their first or second years as coordinators up here at the highest level of Division I football. And of course, we have much more than that happening, as we have several nationally televised games that we are going to check into here today. So it's going to be a fun episode. I hope you guys are truly excited for it, because I certainly am. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me, hit that subscribe button if you do have to be brand new to the channel as well. And with that being said, let's go dive right into the action. I'll catch you guys on the field. So let's go ahead and get the week number 6 action officially underway, starting with our Thursday night action, which features the Nevada Wolfpack taking on the USC Trojans, who are undefeated and ranked number 2 in the entire country. But this Nevada squad, it is a solid football team. They are in the 90s in terms of overall, so could challenge USC, even though they are here at home in LA Coliseum, as Scott is going to do a good job checking down to his running backs, finds Nick Richards, and Nick Richard does get USC inside the 5-yard line, eventually setting up a 1st and goal opportunity, handing it off to John Concepcion, the transfer from the FCS ranks. And look at that, ladies and gentlemen. USC, they built upon this lead early. They're going to end up getting up 20-0 before Nevada even gets its first points on the board the entire game. So maybe Nevada isn't so much of a challenge after all, as it does look like that USC is going to run away with it. They have a 27-7 lead late in the 3rd quarter of action. But this Wolfpack, they're trying to roar on back. Nevada looks like trying to scramble with the quarterback. He's going to get away from one defender. Gets hit out of bounds. But Nevada has yet another 1st and goal opportunity. And with it still being in the 3rd quarter, it's certainly not over. Rolling over to the right hand side. Throws a dart into the end zone. And Nevada, they're looking to roar back, even though they do miss the extra point. So this defense going to have to create some turnovers here. We'll see if this defense can do exactly that, because they can't afford to give up any more points. 2nd and short coming up. Scott drops back, throws over the middle of the field, and nearly has yet another touchdown on the board. He found Freddie Warren on the slant pattern, but they're going to mark him down at the 1-yard line before Nick Richards finishes the drive off. And USC, well, they're going to score yet again. USC once again up by a few possessions, as Nevada looks to answer back. Throws over to the left-hand side. Finds Mike Leake in that little drag pattern. That's a nice little 6-yard gain, but time is on their side. Not on their side right now. Only 5 minutes left to play in this game, as they actually decide to run with the football. Bold strategy for Cotton, that's for sure. But hey, what are you going to do about it, right? Anyways, we will end up seeing Eric Scott find the end zone. It's a touchdown for the Wolfpack, and it's a 2-score game. Could get very interesting, especially towards the end. 1:30 left to play. Spencer got some time. Throws over the middle and finds a receiver. Touchdown, Nevada! And the Wolfpack, they are just 1 score away from tying this thing. They do need the onside kick if they are going to go ahead and have a shot, but USC, the Trojans, they're going to recover courtesy of Anthony Johnson. And USC, not a great second half for them, but they do end up winning 34-27 to remain undefeated. Meanwhile, we had a studio update while all of this was going down. Memphis was taking on Auburn in some Wednesday night football action, and Memphis pulls a stunner against the Auburn Tigers as Memphis wins 39-34. They are currently on a 2-game winning streak. But now we have some couple of other games kicking off. First and foremost, we got some Commanders Cup implications, and also we do have the Red River rivalry as well. Navy comes in ranked number 25 in the country. They, I believe they did beat Army, so if they could beat Air Force here, which they are favored to do so, then we will be looking at a team that is going to take the Commanders Cup trophy home. But Air Force trying to take the lead first and foremost, but throwing that pass in the back of the end zone, probably not what they were thinking. And we actually don't see any scoring happening until midway through the second quarter when Lorenzo Bell is going to get the pitch from the quarterback, carries it into the end zone, and Navy will draw first blood. But 2 minutes left to play in the first half. Going to be a pitch out to the left-hand side. This could be some danger down the sideline, and Terry Racy, he almost scores, but it's going to be marked down at the 1-yard line. But no sweat for the Falcons as they will rely on their quarterback, Ben Kelly. Ben Kelly is going to punch it in for the Air Force Falcons, and we got a tie ball game. However, Navy trying to pull away here in the second half. Air Force desperately needing to respond, and they're going to get it out of their tailback, Terry Lacey. Terry Lacey going and getting a big boy touchdown there. Now the Air Force defense got to come down, get a stop on defense, especially down here in the red zone. But that has not been a fun day. I know they only allowed 17 points so far, but definitely a lot of yards thrown in there as well as Lorenzo Bell finds the end zone yet again for the Navy midshipmen. So down by 10, and Air Force needs points down here if they want to try to make it a one-possession game. But oh no, Ben Kelly, what are you doing? What are you doing, big fella? He's got a convoy now down to 5 and somehow gets caught from behind inside the 5-yard line. Oh, that is going to end up being a 14-point swing as the very next play, Willie Hicks gets the pitch, finds the end zone, and Navy is going to be your Commanders Cup champion this season, taking down both Army and Air Force as well. Meanwhile, in the Cotton Bowl, Texas off to a good start this year at 3-0, while Oklahoma, a team that won the Big 12 championship last season, they are trying to find their bearings. They have really struggled through this season so far. It really has not been pretty for the Oklahoma Sooners, but Texas, well, they'll try to get to 4-0. You can't count your rivals out, especially when it's that rivalry weekend, but Texas is going to get off to a good start here. They're going to jump up to a 7-0 lead. Then Oklahoma trying to answer back as they move down the field and find Reggie Anderson. They're actually going to count this as a passing touchdown. Wow, did not expect that one to happen. Still a touchdown nonetheless. But the Texas Longhorns, man, they had one of the most electric offenses in the entire country. And playing this Oklahoma team in Dallas, Texas, it is no other surprise here. No exceptions being made for their hated rivals up north. As Texas takes the lead, 14-7. Now your score. Oklahoma trying to answer that call. And look at this run. Jerome Butler going to be brought down inside the 2-yard line. I expect him to get another carry down here in the end zone area. And he does. Jerome Butler is going to score for the Oklahoma Sooners, and it's knotted back up here in the Red River rivalry. Now, 1 minute left in the first half. Texas trying to drive down the field. Gonna dump it off first and foremost to Trey Dixon, and Trey Dixon does a nice job of finding some yards after the catch. Eventually brings Texas inside the 35-yard line. Down to the last 10 seconds of the first half, though, and Julian Sanders, he gets loose, and Chase Ingram puts it right on the money, so Texas takes the lead going into halftime. And after that last taking of the lead, the Texas Longhorns, well, they never looked back, as Texas just seemed like a team that really took control, in that second half of action. The lead grows as much as 35-14. So in the second half, Oklahoma, well, they get ran off the field here as Texas wins 45-21. An impressive performance for the Longhorns. But now we have a few other games getting set to kick off. Multiple top 25 teams going in action. First and foremost, how about the Virginia Tech Hokies? Going in ranked number 22 in the country, but we'll check those guys out later. As for now, we'll check in on LSU. LSU, a team that was a preseason top 10 squad. I don't know what's going on with LSU, but they have not brought it here in the early going of the season. They actually might struggle to get to a bowl game if they keep this up. In San Jose State, they are no slouch either. Their only loss so far this year is to Alabama. They did beat Auburn earlier this year, so that's something to watch out for, as San Diego State only down by a field goal as of right now, and trying to drive down the field with less than a couple minutes left here in this first half. We'll cut to that final play of the first half. Quarterback's got a ton of time to throw this ball. He's going to throw it up in the air, and, I mean, he put it up for his guys, but unfortunately, LSU defense is going to win this one out, and Tony Montgomery will be awarded his second interception of the game. And after that, it really was a game where points really were a premium in this one. LSU hasn't even found the end zone yet. They have the lead. Luckily, their kicker has been absolutely on point today. He's going to be named player of the game, I would imagine, if this kind of game script keeps up. But San Diego State, they have been shut out all day today, but that is going to change when we got Kirk finding his way into the end zone. They'll get the extra point, but that was the only touchdown that we saw. LSU is going to win 12-7. Now, that being said, we'll check in on the number 22 ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. So, going to be a challenge here for this custom coach, as Sam Cash, he's going to be coaching up the Old Dominion offense here today. He's in his inaugural season at the FBS level. So, we'll see if Old Dominion is ready for the challenge. We see them, last time we saw Old Dominion, we saw them beat Wisconsin, but ever since then, they have not won a single game. So, it's been a rough for Old Dominion, at least in the CPU. And also at the same time, we're going to see what Virginia Tech is made of, as they're going to be down 10-0 early, not really playing at maybe a level that they are personally capable of, as Brian Maxwell able to find the first down there, a 14-yard gain. And with this run, no, it's not a run, it's a pass instead. Marshall Gardner is going to score for the Monarchs. Adam Cleveland feeling himself early, 11 for his first 13 passes, ends up being completed. So Virginia Tech, they just entered the top 25 not too long ago, and if they don't get it turned around quickly, you know, we could be looking at a long day for Virginia Tech, and looking at them falling outside of the top 25 as well. So something to really look at and consider. So these next few minutes here going into the halftime break, going to be real critical right now if Virginia Tech wants to come back and win this game. And Virginia Tech, just like that, is going to be on the board. The Hokies cut it to within 10 points. And later on in the third quarter, the Hokie defense really stands up. Old Dominion hasn't done much on offense since that 17-point outburst to start the game. It allows Virginia Tech to slowly claw with their fingernails back into the ball game. Could make it very well a one-possession game. Something that could very much happen. First and goal with 2:30 left to play. Dropping back, Old Dominion sends the blitz, but the blitz doesn't work as Travis Cook gets his second touchdown of the day. He is having his way against the Old Dominion linebacking core. And it doesn't take long before the Hokies march right back down the field. They had Old Dominion had a free and out on the next possession. So now we could see the Hokies take the lead all of a sudden. I thought Old Dominion was possibly going to run away with this thing. That has not happened so far. But looking over the middle of the field, it's got a receiver. How about the dynamic ability of Ryan Scott staying on his feet there? He's going to give Virginia Tech their first lead of the game here in the third quarter, or in the fourth quarter, nonetheless. 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, And now if Virginia Tech scores on this drive, they could put Old Dominion away. They're already up by 11. A touchdown, which they get from Micah Barbour. It looks like it could be over, but give Old Dominion credit. They are not going to go down without a fight. Monarchs march down the field with a minute left and finds their receiver. That is Daniel Brady. Daniel Brady is one of your FCS transfers. He's transferred in from, I believe it's Western Carolina. So a very good receiver at the FCS ranks. And they go back to him again, it seems like. They'll get the 2-point conversion, but a little bit too little too late as Virginia Tech soars back and stays undefeated. Now, that being said, we'll have the number 5 ranked Miami Hurricanes on your screen now. And they'll be taking on this Georgia Southern Eagle squad. This is a SEC conference game. And it looks like Miami is, well, simply put, they're just doing Miami things right now. They're going to jump up to an early 7-3 lead in the first quarter of action. But Miami is always a team that always has played at a higher level as the game goes on. As the game wears down on you, they just tend to get better. And, you know, that's certainly been a case maybe for this particular game as well, as it only took a few minutes in the second quarter to record their first points in second quarter. Jared McBride, he's just going to bully ball his way into the end zone. And Miami already with a 14-3 lead before Casey Carter. Hey, Mr. Carter, how have you been? He finds the end zone for Edwards. That's another touchdown for the Miami Hurricanes. But Georgia Southern, the final moments of the first half, down by 11. Well, he'll find a receiver of his own. And that's Buck Miller throwing his second touchdown pass. So a lot of talk about Miami Hurricanes, but Georgia Southern trying to make this a game here in the second half. But it looks like Miami might be a little bit too much in said second half as Jared McBride, again, just bully balling his way into the end zone. Not the most dynamic athlete out there, but I mean, he's going to bully his way into the end zone, that's for sure, as we'll see Casey Carter get into the action. He'll get a rushing touchdown here as Miami continues to pour it on here in the second half. 1st and 10, up by 17. Carter dropping back, he's got a clean pocket, throws to the right hand side, and how about the 10 toes down movement there on the sideline by Ray Berry? Not only would that have been a catch at the college level, but also at the NFL level, as well as it does lead directly into a Casey Carter touchdown as Miami Hurricanes just poured on Georgia Southern, winning 55-17, looking like a defending national champion. Now, we do have a double box update as 2 top 25 teams are going into action here. First and foremost, we got the Indiana Hoosiers going on the road to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes, who are undefeated and 4-0 on the year. Indiana doing a lot better than they were at this point last season. They already got 2 wins, which is, you know, again, they were 0-4 at this time last year. So Indiana, you know, improving as a program. And it does also help that Dalton Barrettine, he's the offensive coordinator for Indiana. Well, he certainly improved his offense as well. Defense also getting timely plays as Ohio State did move right down the field, but Brooks Hicks throws an interception in the red zone. You always hate to see it unless you're a defensive guy. Then, you know, you're feeling a little chub seeing a red zone interception, not even allowing so much as a field goal inside the 20-yard line. But it doesn't take very long for the Ohio State Buckeyes to get back as Brooks Hicks runs the option. If he pitched it, that would have been a touchdown for Ohio State because everyone was focusing on him, but I mean, Brooks Hicks was trying to play a little bit of hero ball there. Leads to a 3rd and goal the other way as Ohio State trying to punch it in, and just tough running for Andrew Bush, who finds his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State. But Indiana able to get a long score of their own. They tie this game up, and dare I say it, Indiana, they might come out here and take the lead as Demetrius Hudson with some very timely runs. He's already got 1 touchdown in this game. Well, he's used as a distraction for Marcus Graham to get open in the corner of the end zone. Indiana actually has a lead. They got the lead against the number 4 team in the entire country. And now it's Ohio State's turn to answer back. This offense has not been playing at an extraordinarily high level, and it certainly shows on the scoreboard. First and 10 for Ohio State. They're actually going to run. No, it's going to be a quarterback keeper for Brooks Hicks, who gets across the first down marker. It's a first down for Ohio State. And the Ohio State Buckeyes now firmly in Indiana territory now. Again, running the option. Gets it out to Brian Britt down the sideline. And Brian Britt nearly gets to the first down marker. They will mark him just shy. And with the rushing attack working well for Ohio State. No, it's a play action. We've been bamboozled. And Brooks Hicks finds Sam Williams down the middle of the field. Ohio State will use another timeout. They got one timeout left to work with. But it looks like it will not be necessary, though, as Brian Britt finds the end zone. And it's a tie ball game. But Indiana gets a chance to run their 2-minute drill. They have all of their timeouts as well. So we'll see how this drive ends up playing out. But Indiana, well, they're going to go ahead and break out this no-huddle offense as Indiana looks to try to go to work using the running game. Looks like as they go halfback base, as it looks like it turns out to a brilliant call. Look at this run down the sideline. He's loose. Gets chopped down inside the 35-yard line, but a great run by Demetrius Hudson, who goes for 30-plus yards. And again, they'll go to the no huddle. Do they go back to that ground game, or is this a play action opportunity? Everyone's within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. No, it's a play action. Drops back, fires, finds Courtney Nelson for a 30-yard gain. And Indiana with a chance to take the lead. Going into half, and they do. Brent Eagle finds the end zone. Touchdown, Indiana. So the Hoosiers do end up taking the lead going into the second half. But we do have a little bit of a scoreboard glitch. The scoreboard does disappear for most of the second half. So, I mean, you got to love these games made really in 2013. This game is a decade old now, which, you know, thank goodness that there's a new EA college football game on the way for all of that. But all things considered, Ohio State, they already have tied this game with Brian Britt. They will do exactly that yet again. They'll take the lead, first lead of the second half, as eventually the scoreboard does come back last couple minutes of the game, just in time for Brian Britt to kind of seal the deal. You know, Don Berrettini, the offensive coordinator, did a solid job today, but, I mean, this Ohio State team just overmatched them. But now we check in on the Crimson Tide of Alabama, taking on Southern Miss. Southern Miss coming in 1-2, looking to even up their record and maybe mess around and kick Alabama out of the top 25. Alabama maybe getting a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, as they're only 2-2 themselves, yet ranked number 23 in the entire country. Definitely very little room for Alabama to really come out here and try to remain in the top 25. They gotta win out here, because I think another loss could kick them out, especially to a team like Southern Miss. So something to certainly watch out for. And early on, this game was very tight as well. A 7-7 game, as Curtis West, one of the best players in the country, well, he's doing a good job directing the offense, and that's just allowing the offensive line really to go to work there, as Quentin Lake averaging nearly 10 yards a carry. 10 yards a carry this man is averaging, and of course they're going to go back to him. They haven't found a way to stop him, so why not stop giving it to him, right? So Quentin Lake gives Alabama the lead. 14-7 is your score going into that second quarter of action. And yeah, man, that running game just really happening, making things work very well for Alabama, as it just seems the Crimson Tide is just dominating Southern Mississippi in the trenches, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like, it's just been working absolutely magically here thus far. Is now goal line opportunity for the Crimson Tide once again. Curtis gonna fire over the middle, finds a receiver. That is going to be Ernest Concepcion, who actually just got his first career touchdown the other day. Makes it a much more manageable 3rd and goal, which Curtis West is going to throw for, and throws a dime to Adam Lamb, who's going to score for Alabama, as the Crimson Tide start to pull away here in that second half yet again. Fires over to the right-hand side, gets his receiver, and that's a first down for Alabama yet again, as Curtis West is closing in on 250 yards for the day. but it's the ground game that has really taken the cake, as Quinn Lake is going to score yet again for Alabama as they march on to a 38-10 lead within Sun Belt Conference action early in the season. Now, that being considered, we only had one top 25 matchup this entire... No, we do have two, but one of them, this was actually originally a regionally televised game, but we had to show you guys this game, right? We cannot simply avoid a top 25 matchup. Cannot happen, as Oregon is going to take on Syracuse. Oregon coming in ranked number 15 in the country, while Syracuse is ranked number 18. So, could be a very interesting game that we have here, as both teams really like to run those traditional offenses. So, we'll see what happens in this game. I'm really curious to see how this game is going to go. We'll always love a top 25 non-conference matchup, because then we get a real good indicator at how good each of these conferences is, right? Like, that's something that I really love to watch. And Oregon is actually going to score first within the first few minutes of this game. They will take a 7-3 lead, but Jacob Butler late in the first quarter, he's going to get some time as he's going to throw across his body, and that's going to end in an interception. Oregon going the other way, and Oregon's going to start their next drive inside the 35-yard line. Dandrick Gray, man, what a play for him, just tracking Jacob Butler extremely well there. And Oregon going to be set up with nice field position, which they'll try to take advantage late in the first quarter, as Marcus Myers is able to get the 10 toes down in the end zone. And while Montrell Hawkins hasn't thrown the ball much so far, only 6 passes in the first quarter, 2 of them end up being touchdowns. So, being very efficient with the results. You always love to see that, as Oregon takes a 14-3 lead into the second quarter. But this is what Syracuse loves to do. They love to get Jacob Butler into open space, and you could see the results. Butler almost punching it into the end zone. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them anytime soon, as Butler will hand it off to John Talley and the Syracuse Orange. Just like that, they will just make it a 4-point game. So 14-10 does end up being your score. Meanwhile, later in the second quarter, Orange are looking for their first lead of the game. How about Butler avoiding the pressure and then throwing a dime to DJ Johnson? Okay, Butler, I see you. I didn't know you had that dog in you, but clearly I am been mistaken, as I was unfamiliar with your game, sir. And speaking of that game, well, I take that back instantly. He throws his second interception of the game. Don't know what this corner is doing. He could have gotten a lot more yards on this return, but he is a true freshman, Kenny Huggins. He does a great job, makes an athletic play, the Union City, Georgia safety there. So now we jump into that third quarter of action. Oregon only down by a field goal still, as Montrell trying to throw over to the right-hand side, but he is going to throw an interception as well. The turnovers really starting to pile up here for both teams, as Montrell Hawkins, we talked about how great of a start he had. Well, not so much anymore, I would say, as Syracuse now has a chance to extend their lead. Butler, he's dangerous with the ball on the perimeter, and you can see why. Jacob Butler is going to score for the Syracuse Orange, and they extend the lead here in the RL Carrier Dome. And then the Orange looking for a big-time non-conference win as we jump into the fourth quarter now. Butler gets away from one defender, stiff arms a second away, gets away from my lemonade stand, and Jacob Butler with another big run, 24 yards, as Butler is well over 100 yards rushing on the day. But Butler throws to the left-hand side, looks for a dagger, and he might have gotten it here. DJ Johnson for his second touchdown of the game. DJ Johnson, dangerous man, and look at him. I mean, he was wide butt naked open. Oregon, what are you doing? What are we actually doing right now? But Oregon down by 17. They need a big play of their own. Montrell Hawkins, the Eastern Kentucky transfer. He's going to fire. Finds a receiver down the sideline. And that's going to be a touchdown for Marcus Myers. Montrell Hawkins does get his third passing touchdown of the game. I mean, and this was a beautifully thrown ball as well. You love to see the cannon that Montreal Hawkins has on him. I'll tell you what, that is impressive to watch for sure. But it's not going to be enough. Syracuse is still going to win pretty convincingly, to be honest with you. Syracuse wins 37-24. Great win for the Orange. But now we have a bunch of other games kicking off around the country. Multiple top 25 teams going into effect as well. And we also have North Carolina. We have a little ACC championship rematch against Charlotte, so that'll be towards the end. But first, we check in on the number 12 ranked Washington Huskies. They were on a 2-game losing streak, but they got themselves right. They took it out on Stanford because why not take it out on Stanford? Wisconsin, a team that was also in college football playoff last year. They were in as the 8th seed, but Wisconsin not doing them any favors over the course of this season. They're 2-3 right now, so if they want to make that happen somehow, first and foremost, they're going to need some love from the conference allocation system for the college football playoff. But listen, they can only control what they can control at this point. They do take a 17-0 lead, so Washington, they are being bamboozled in this game before we finally see the Huskies find the end zone. It's Jason Smith that has to carry them across that goal line for the very first time today, and he does so untouched as well. So you always love to see your quarterback not taking any contact to score points for your team. He will take some contact here, but thankfully he pitches it off just in time. And that's going to be a touchdown for the Washington Huskies. Back to just a 3-point game. And Washington gets the ball with 1 second left. So you think they were going to run out the clock. They tried to. But look at this run down the sideline with a chance to make something special happens. And he does. Adrian Nichols with an 80-yard touchdown. And Washington has the lead and the momentum. Can it turn into a Washington win? Moving over to the fourth quarter in Wisconsin, they take the lead. Wisconsin is going to be up 31-24 after a successful extra point. They also score again off screen. I accidentally simulated that particular play, but 2 minutes left. Could be a little bit of life here for this Washington squad. They really needed that interception. They still have all their timeouts too, so that's something that they do have. They are able to march down the field and score, but they don't get this onside kick. It's over. And it looks like the fat lady, well, she might be warming up those vocals right now. As Wisconsin is going to go ahead, they will actually run out the rest of his clock. They get enough first downs to make sure Washington doesn't get the ball again, and the number 12 team in the country goes down. Speaking of non-top 25 teams getting wins, one of these two teams will do just that, as Florida State will be taking on the Maryland Terrapins, an old ACC conference matchup, but this is now a non-conference game by modern college football terms. Now, Maryland just coming off of a really nice win. They did end up beating Alabama. We saw them play again in the previous week. I think it might have been Pittsburgh. I can't remember. They beat somebody notable. Maryland's on a 2-game winning streak. That's all that you need to know. So they're feeling good going into this game, but going into the fourth quarter, it's a very tight game here in the fourth quarter. Florida State really trying their best to try to put this game away right now. As Jack Rowe, he might have an open space up the middle, and now it's a goal line situation. Maryland's going to have to start using their timeouts. They only got one timeout left to work with, by the way. But Maryland looks like they will not actually need that timeout because Ryan Jones will carry it into the end zone. So Florida State looks like they have this under control, but give Maryland credit. They move down the field quickly, trying to set this throw up over the middle. And how about this? Throw over the middle is good for a touchdown. Ron Garrett, he actually had to step in. He's actually the backup quarterback for this Maryland football team. They'll even go for the 2-point conversion as well. And Luke Jones has no problem getting that as well. But same thing as the Washington team. They need this onside kick if they want to make something shake. But, if those onside kicks, they don't have a very high success rate, whether it's in the video game or in real life. So a little bit more of a defensive-minded game. But Florida State does end up winning 21-18 in order to get to 3-2. As for the Tennessee Volunteers, they have really bounced back for what was a really disappointing year number 1. Tennessee is 4-0, but still not ranked in the top 25. They will have this Florida Gators team, which is a non-conference rivalry game nowadays. But Florida jumps on them early, up 14-0 in this one. So Tennessee's got some work to do if they want to keep that 0 by their loss column. We'll see if they can get back in this game late in the first quarter. Run up the middle, and it's not going to be a touchdown. It's not going to be a touchdown. Drew Brown gets stuffed inside the 5-yard line. We'll actually have to wait till the second quarter when they run a speed option, and just big time running by Drew Brown, who's already carried the ball so many times. But that's as close as Tennessee gets as Florida wins 24-10. And now we have the number 3 team in all of college football, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, taking on a Minnesota team, which Minnesota was a top 10 team last year, and well, they're certainly not the same team as they were last year. So, but Minnesota is up 6-0 early, has a chance to possibly make this a 13-0 game going into halftime. Nebraska really has struggled on the offensive side of the ball. Minnesota is not exactly lighting the world up on fire by any means, but doing great compared to Nebraska, considering at least Minnesota has scored at this point of the game. But 51 seconds left. Harrison throws over to the left-hand side. It's got a receiver, and James Robinson almost punches it in for a 10-yard gain. As we get into a couple plays later, looks like it's going to be Jason Haynes that is going to finish the drive out. Touchdown, Minnesota. They opt not to go for the 2-point conversion, so they were more than content with their 13-0 lead as we go into the fourth quarter of action. Still the exact same score. This also was a very defensive-minded game as well. And with 8.5 minutes left, one of the first plays of the fourth quarter, it looks like Minnesota is going to shock the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and that is exactly what Minnesota does here. Winning convincingly too, 34-7. Nebraska should fall quite a bit. Now we have our ACC Conference Championship matchup from year number 1. North Carolina won the last time that these two teams met, but Charlotte's a pretty good team here. They're 4-1, not ranked in the top 25, but if they can beat this North Carolina team, that should be enough to get them to the top 25, I would think. But you know, that hasn't happened necessarily. But North Carolina looking to tie the game up at 7 apiece, but Charlotte gets a turnover in the back of the end zone. Charlotte holds on to their lead for now, but how long will that last? Last play of the first quarter. Toss play over to the left-hand side, and it looks like Andy Jackson's going to take a little Sunday stroll into the end zone. That is going to be a touchdown for the North Carolina Tar Heels. So a tie ball game now as we move on to the second quarter of action. Still tied at 7 apiece as Andy Jackson's going to run it up the middle for a solid 6-yard gain on the play. And now 2nd and 14 here. They actually took a loss there after that. But then Andy Jackson able to get by some players. No, it's Victor Brandt that got the carry. A different running back that got the carry load there. Makes it a much more manageable 3rd down, which North Carolina decides to pass it on. And it's going to be a touchdown for the Tar Heels. Danny Bates with his first passing touchdown of the day to make it 14-7. But with a minute left, Danny Bates, looking for more than just a 1-possession lead, is able to hang in the pocket for a long time. Finds Mike Anderson right before the pocket closes on him. Great pocket pressures by Danny Bates to not freak out there. And it just sets up the rest of the drive as Charlotte tries to send the blitz there. Doesn't work as Andy Jackson is able to leak out for a 21-yard reception. But now, 2nd and 16 coming up at around the 30-yard line. Bates drops back. He's got all the time in the world. Could have made himself a sandwich if he wanted to. Mike Anderson gets open for a 1st down. That's for a gain of 17. And then 3rd and short. Danny Bates, well, he'll run into the end zone by himself as he tattoos a defender. Touchdown, North Carolina. And the Tar Heels take a 21-7 lead into the half. But Charlotte, they're 4-1 for a reason. They're not going down without a fight. Charlotte, one of those programs in this conference realignment, this geographical realignment landscape, they have really turned themselves into a solid program. I love it for Charlotte. Nice little talent out there, as Charlotte is going to make it just a one possession game here. It could go in either direction. Now, going into the fourth quarter of action, Turner is going to try to run it into the end zone. He's going to tie it up. It's going to be a tie ball game as Charlotte just nods it up. 21 apiece. But North Carolina gets a late field goal, so Charlotte needs to score again, and they do! Charlotte takes the lead. Will they get revenge on the number 16 ranked North Carolina Tar Heels? They need one more stop on defense. 90 seconds left. Danny drops back. He's got time. Throws over the middle, and it's going to be a first down for North Carolina. They will not use their timeouts just yet. As Chris Mitchell, good time for you to finally get on the scorecard, buddy. They have over 300 yards passing. Now, they go into their no-huddle offense here. Clock is running. Less than 80 seconds left in the ball game. Bates drops back. He's got time. Fires over the middle. He's got a man, and he's going to score. Chris Mitchell with a 60-yard touchdown down the heart of a Charlotte defense and crushing 49ers fans everywhere. North Carolina is going to win 30-28, but what a heart-stopping game. But we have some studio updates after that last one around the country. How about Arizona State making some noise to get a 35-20 win over BYU that brings them to 4-1? And then we actually do see Arizona State again, a little bit of a duplicate by me, but I'm just as happy with how Arizona State played in this particular game. But we finally get some other scores from around the country. And James Madison, how about James Madison? They take down Pittsburgh 27-24. And then Boston College and Temple had a really exciting game, really to watch over as well. They end up with a 38-31 victory here for the Boston College Eagles. But then UNLV also stepping up and playing some good ball. 35-28 being your final score as UNLV gets to 4-1 as well. Great season for the Rebels as they've been definitely under the radar. And then finally, Kentucky takes care of business against South Carolina, and Kentucky wins by a touchdown. So a couple more games left in this episode, though, as we have a rivalry game, which is why this game is on national television. Two teams that just looking for their footing still. Duke, in particular, still looking for their first win of the season. William McNair, he's one of your guys' custom coaches. He's a defensive coordinator, and Duke went 3-9 last year, so unless Duke gets it going quickly, William McNair might be looking for a different job at the end of the season, especially with what this Wake Forest team has been able to do early, taking a 10-0 lead here at home against your rival. Not a great look for the Duke Blue Devils, but less than 3 minutes left in the game. Duke is going to try to cut it to just a one-possession game. Jameel Livingston made it harder than it should have been, but nonetheless, Duke is going to score there. It's going to be just a field goal game and could get the ball back once again, but on a 3rd and 8, they call a halfback draw of all things, and look at this. This running back's getting loose on a 3rd and 8, and Lake Forest is going to score. The Demon Deacons, well, they're on demon time here in this rivalry game as Wake Forest takes a 24-7 lead going into the fourth quarter. Jameel Livingston trying to make something, literally anything happen. It's going to be 3rd and short here for the Duke Blue Devils. Actually make it 4th and short. They will go with the option, and Jameel Livingston, he's going to walk into the end zone here. It's going to make it a little bit more interesting. 24-14 does end up being your score after Livingston's second rushing touchdown of the day, but less than 2 minutes left in the game. It's going to be a throw over to the left-hand side, and it's going to be a touchdown for Ryan McCoy. Ryan McCoy wide butt naked open there, and Wake Forest with a 38-14 victory over their hated rival. And now this will be the final game that we'll see in this episode, at least in terms of gameplay. And it's a good one. Number 1 UCLA taking on the number 13 ranked California Bears. They are in Cal Berkeley for this matchup. So a lot of navy blue and yellow in the stands. Definitely sold up. This is definitely a sellout that we're looking at. So we take a look at the conference standings real quick to see what's happening out in the Northwest. Cal has a chance to get back into the conference race with a win today, while UCLA, they're looking to keep up with USC, as we saw them earlier this episode take down Nevada in conference play. So UCLA definitely needing wins in order to keep themselves competitive in this particular game. But how about this to get the game started? UCLA trying to run a pitch, and Paul Thorne, he's going to steal it and run it all the way back. Touchdown for California. Wow, what a great instinctive play. That is just paying attention to the film right there and taking full advantage. Paul Thorne is going to score. So Cal's going to have a 7-0 lead, but then later on in the first quarter, UCLA trying to make up for that mistake earlier in the game. Well, I think they're going to do that and much more, as Kobe Green will quickly even it up for the UCLA Bruins. Both these teams have very strong offenses. They both scored at least 35 points a game. So I thought that at this point we were going to be in for a shootout, but that shootout, to be honest with you guys, never happened. Matter of fact, it ended up turning close to the opposite as 3 minutes left in the second quarter, trying to throw over to the right-hand side, but it's going to be intercepted. It actually does end up being intercepted by this California secondary. Tim Evans, he's doing a great job just sticking on him like macaroni on cheese there. But it doesn't end in points in the other way. They missed the field goal. So we jump into the fourth quarter of action. It's still knotted up at 7. No one has scored since the first quarter. It really has been that back and forth affair. But Tony Warren's going to get an interception late in the game. And we'll see if that is going to be enough to get California ahead. They'll try again with their field goal unit to see if they can pull ahead here. And they will. They will take the lead. 10-7 your score with 6 minutes left to play. But Cal even has a chance to go ahead and try to put this game on ice. But they'll also throw an interception with 3 minutes left in this game. So not a good day of the offense for either offense. You don't like to see it. Definitely a different type of game than all the shootouts that we see. But California is going to ultimately come through. They'll beat UCLA 10-7, as it looks like at the end of this episode, we will have a brand new #1 team in the nation. Who's it going to be? But with that UCLA and Cal game finally coming to an end, let's go ahead and take a look around the country to check out some of the scores that we did not get a chance to watch in person within this episode. Michigan, first and foremost, did go on the road to take on the Ohio Bobcats. But the Bobcats did put up an admirable fight, but they are still going to be looking for their first win of the season, as they do end up losing yet again to the Michigan Wolverines, 31-17. As for Louisiana Tech, their winning ways are going to continue as they now get to 5-1 on the year, doing so by beating Central Michigan 34-21, as Louisiana Tech Bulldogs cement themselves as a top 10 team in the country. Now, NC State, however, they were not ranked in the top 25, but one thing that they did have was have an absolute field day against Appalachian State. The Mountaineers are still looking for their first win of the year, and it was ugly in this one, losing 45-0 to the NC State Wolfpack. As for Ole Miss, they will get to 5-1 on the year and do so by beating Southern Alabama 42-14. The Jaguars have been on quite the nosedive, and Ole Miss takes full advantage of that. As for the Arkansas Razorbacks, they are now also a top 10 team in the country, and they do so by beating Louisiana Lafayette 34-21. The Razorbacks are now 5-1, while the Raging Cajuns do suffer their second loss of the season. Stanford, however, is going to get back to 500 on the year, and doing so in a big way as they hosted San Diego State. The Aztecs were completely blanked in this one as the Cardinal win 38-0. The Aztecs fall to 2-4 overall on the year. But the Rice Owls continue to impress, however, as they get a 38-24 victory over the SMU Mustangs. Rice is still undefeated, and because of that, they climb all the way up to number 12 in the entire country. Now, this game right here was certainly a doozy, but the Tulane Green Wave are going to survive. The Green Wave win 33-21 as Louisiana Monroe is no longer undefeated on the season. So because of that loss to UCLA, we did have some changes in our top 25, particularly at the top. we do have a new number 1 team in the nation, and that is USC. But Ohio State also does its job, moves up a couple of spots to number 2, and Georgia, another team that benefited from that tremendously. Georgia moves up 3 spots, and they are even receiving a first place vote as well. Other things to keep note of is Michigan moving a couple of spots. They're now in the top 5. UCLA falls 5 spots to number 6 after the close loss on the road to the University of California. Speaking of Cal, they are rewarded by moving up 4 spots to number 9 in the country, up from number 13. As for the rest of the top 25, because Nebraska did lose their first game of the season, the Cornhuskers fall down to number 11, so a significant drop for the Cornhuskers there. Rice, we talked about them earlier, they're up 7 spots to number 12. North Carolina doing the same thing. They're moving up a few spots to 13 after a close win to the Charlotte 49ers. And then in the second half of the top 25, we got Syracuse at 14. Texas is number 15. They won the Red River rivalry. Tulane moves up 1 as well. Minnesota maybe one of those teams that gets a little bit too much respect, possibly. I mean, great win against Nebraska and all, but I thought there would be some other teams that deserve to be ranked in the top 25 over this Minnesota squad, but they are back at 17. Virginia Tech is a prime example of that. Virginia Tech still undefeated. They're up 4 spots to number 18. Penn State moves up a couple spots on bye. Oregon falls 5 spots after the loss to Syracuse. And rounding out your top 25 is Alabama at 21. Army at number 22. The Huskies hanging on for dear life at 23. And a newcomer in James Madison, they get in at number 24 in the country. And rounding out your group is the Navy Midshipmen. So an exciting week of football once again here in the NCSL, as we are now closing in on that halfway point on the season. Because we are at that halfway point in the season, next episode, not only will you see your typical assortment of nationally televised games around the country, 16 games to be exact, but after all of those games are completed, we will have a conference standings update to see where each team stands as we get to the halfway point in the regular season. So, that being considered, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off. Hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.